This video is going to be a film study look at what Justin Fields brings to the New York Jets. I'm not here to necessarily offer comment or my thoughts on the contract. I'm going to consider this a primer on how Justin Fields or any of the super athletic quarterbacks like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson change the dynamic for what the defense is going to call. Tanner Engstrand, the offensive coordinator that comes over from Detroit with Aaron Glenn. How much of the Lions/Ben Johnson offense is he going to implement? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. There will definitely be a part two here where I'll focus on some Lions concepts. You're talking about two drastically different quarterbacks, Jared Goff and Justin Fields. Consider this, like I said, a primer on how they can utilize Justin Fields' skills. But even before then, how his athleticism changes the dynamic and what the defense will do in certain situations, which will influence the offensive coordinator's play calls. Justin Fields has his own unique set of skills. Most of this film, to be honest with you, is going to be from 2023. Really unable to put 2024 film on my YouTube channel and still retain monetization. I think he's got a lot of athletic ability. That's quite obvious. Is there still things to clean up, speed up, I guess, and make more efficient with his footwork? Absolutely. Some of the steps, his drops in particular, 5 and 7 step drops, you'd be better served to get him in a more consistent throwing platform such that he could get rid of the ball sooner. Some of these throws here really going to focus on red zone opportunities. There's a lot of ability there. I'll get to the film, and we're really going to show touchdown passes first, and then I'll focus on how his athleticism changes the dynamic for what defenses are going to call against the Jets offense. So first couple of plays is going to be from the red zone. You're going to see one play type, one pass concept, I should say, that Justin Fields really throws well. So this is a 2nd and 9, 2023 against the Packers, and the pre-snap read becomes very clear by the safety walking up here. There's the route combination that you've got, post wheel, whatever you want to call it. In some cases, it ends up basically just being go switch. The point is here, it's a 5-man rush, 3 deep, 3 under coverage, and Fields identifies what would be the curl flat defender if it was a cover 3. It's not necessarily, it's a match standpoint here from a zone blitz perspective. When you're bringing 5, 3 deep, 3 under, the math doesn't really work. And this is a part of the field that Fields excels in. Throwing the football in what would be considered intermediate range if you were back at the midfield area or between the 40s. Engstrand was a passing game coordinator for Detroit. He's there for 5 years. He's going to have the entire offseason to work with Fields on install and checks, awareness. A big part of what they did in Detroit under Ben Johnson was Jared Goff had a run and a pass play called in the huddle, and he was exceptional at getting them in the right look. And I think that's an underrated aspect of what he did there, what Ben Johnson did. How much of that are they going to incorporate with Justin Fields? I absolutely think they will. It's too much of a benefit, of an advantage to not do so, to not allow your quarterback to put the offense in the best case scenario. He'll be given a chance to succeed, yes, but I think he'll also be given a chance to fail. And what I mean is he'll be given a chance to make those checks and see if he can do them properly. There's one more look at this one. This is an end zone angle. Like I said, it's a 3 deep, 3 under coverage. I mean, maybe you're a spot late getting rid of this ball because he knows where he's going with it, in my opinion. One thing that you see when you get to the film is he's really good at looking free safeties off, at least in this 2023 film. As a Ravens fan, I'll be honest with you, there was a time period this year, 2024, where I was glad that the Steelers went with Russell Wilson because Fields' athleticism, and if they could get, really the reads that they asked Russell Wilson to do, really quick 1-2 read plays. If he's open, throw it here. If he's not, throw it to that guy. That's about all you got for the majority of the plays with Russell Wilson. If you took away his first read, you were oftentimes getting a disruption in the flow of the play. There is some evidence here for Engstrand and the offensive staff that Fields has certain situations he handles well. Intermediate passes up the seam and or down the sideline. And again, the same or similar, a concept here. It's a go switch versus cover 3. This is against the Bucks. So you get in a cover 3. There's the middle of the field free safety. So oftentimes if you're going to run 4 verticals, You're reading between those two verticals on where the free safety goes, perhaps trying to influence him or push him in one direction and then throw to the opposite direction. In this case, that's not the concept, although it works out pretty much the same. It's go switch. So you're getting essentially wheels by the inside receivers, outside receivers to the hash, up the hash, go switch, whatever you want to call it. No, I got a lot of lines there. Essentially, four verticals. Same concept. Fields is able to glance at the free safety, fire the ball to the targeted receiver. It's Chase Claypool before that free safety can recover and get there. I think a 20-yard touchdown pass is one of the things. I feel like he attacks cover three well, meaning he seems comfortable attacking a cover three. And to kind of set the stage for something I'll talk about a little bit later, there will be certain coverages defenses want to avoid against an athlete like a Justin Fields. And I'm a Ravens fan. I'm a Ravens content creator, in case you don't know, and a Ravens fan. So I can identify this pattern and try to explain it to you to the best of my abilities as it pertains to Lamar Jackson. Getting back to Fields for a moment, his steps are in need of some improvement, even though this play ends in a touchdown. Of course, we're all talking about 2023 film. I think it was week 8. But Engstrand has an opportunity to do so even leading up to training camp. And I think that Fields will take advantage of whatever time is there. You can see he's looking at the free safety, trying to hold him. There's a lot of times where the feet are a little bit slow. For being as athletic as Fields is, let's do it this way. He could certainly get out of there quicker. I think that's been well documented on various social media platforms. I don't pretend to be a Bears, Steelers, or Justin Fields expert, but when Aaron Glenn's staff moved over there to the Jets and he took the passing game coordinator with him, I took note of it because I cover the Lions as well, and it's an offense that I have a lot of familiarity with. If there is a part two, or excuse me, when there is a part two to this, it will certainly focus on some of the Lions concepts that I think will be brought over in a way that will promote Justin Fields' completion percentage increasing by 3 to 5% just because of the types of concepts that are being called, independent of the improvement, which we can assume, in his technique and his steps and his footwork. The arm is there. I think it's fashionable to downplay Justin Fields and probably fashionable to talk about the Jets allocating, I think, $40 million over a 2-year period to him. I like the signing. I'm a fan of athletic quarterbacks. I think that the NFL is the lagging measurement here in that all levels of football rely on athletic quarterbacks so that you can play 11 on 11. In the NFL, especially out of 11 personnel, some of these athletic quarterbacks, the super athletes, I should say, almost make it like 12 on 11 to one side of the field. And so I'll describe that a little bit when we get to a couple of the run concepts. Last year for the Steelers, through 5 or 6 weeks, the passing yards were obviously low. This is a 2nd and 6. Let me get my logo out of the way there. Sorry. This is a 2nd and 6. Or excuse me, 1st and 10 in the second quarter. Another post-wheel concept, but this is straight out of the Detroit Lions playbook. And I know that sounds, kind of ridiculous, but you're getting a backside receiver flowing and sitting down either on the hash, which is a landmark in the Ben Johnson passing offense, and we'd have to expect that Engstrand will utilize it as well. Running back underneath, out into the flats, and then you're getting a 6-man protection scheme initially. So slowing down a 4-man rush, and I think a 4-man rush against guys like Justin Fields is sometimes a death sentence or signing yourself up for one. So there's the wheel by DJ Moore. He was the inside receiver running to the outside. DB kind of falls down. It's really 4 to a side. So you end up with one receiver from the backside, the running back, and the 2 receivers to the right initially where DJ Moore lined up, all ending up on the same side, hence the phrase 4 to a side. Gives a ton of zone defenses problems, also man coverage schemes. My point in showing it to you is it's very similar to a lot of the things that the Detroit Lions did under Ben Johnson, and I would expect Engstrand, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, to utilize a lot of those concepts where the backside X and the running back are almost running a high-low but a spacing concept where they're at 45-degree angles from each other as complementary options or checkdowns, if you will, for the quarterback. I think the Jets draft puts them in a great position to support Justin Fields. 3 picks in the top 73. They signed 2 free agent offensive linemen, if memory serves, one of which was the starting center for the Packers, and the other had spent significant time with the Steelers, went to New England last year, only got 1 start. Pick 7 is interesting now, if you ask me. Quarterback is handled from a Jets standpoint. If you're a Jets fan, I think you would have to say that. You've got Justin Fields as the starter. Tyrod Taylor, very capable backup, been around a long time. You don't know he spent time in Baltimore. And there was even a period of time where Ravens fans wanted to see him on the field instead of Joe Flacco. My point is Tyrod Taylor can perform, and I think he'll take to an offense like this one that's going to be structured and quarterback friendly. Same throw from the end zone angle. And you can see Fields is, again, he could get to this spot quicker, in my opinion. For being as athletic as he is, the feet are better than this. He could get more depth, number one. Number two, not cross his feet over as much. Certain steps you want to. If it's a 7-step drop, 5-step drop, that's okay. To my knowledge, you don't want to do that consecutively so often, but the throw is exquisite. The location is awesome to DJ Moore, right there on the outside. Even if the coverage component for the Broncos didn't fall down, that one's still put in a fantastic position to allow your receiver to make the play. The arm is there, speeding him up sometimes with the body on the lower. The lagging feet, if in my opinion, the lagging feet creates issues up top. Think like bottom up. If he has slower foot in his drops at times, then he'll have to rush things on the back end when he's trying to deliver the football, and that could lead to some inaccuracies. The pass completion percentage, you'd like to see it be higher. I think he was at 65% last year. Didn't take as many sacks with the Steelers, but their style of play had an influence there, number one. Number two, Fields didn't start a ton of games. I think he started 6 games and was sacked 13 times. Like I said earlier, he attacks cover 3 very well, at least in the 2023 film for the Bears when he was the starter. At this point, if you get the feet and the lower body in order, I think you along with schematic and design elements that Engstrand will definitely bring over, there's no reason why he can't increase completion percentage plus 67, plus 68. I would look for something like that. It's going to be their first year together, hopefully for a long time. Let's look at one more iteration of Fields attacking cover 3. Your 4 underneath droppers and staring at the free safety again just to kind of hold him. You can see the underneath droppers trying to get out there. Outside linebacker from the boundary dropping out. That creates that seam between the outside linebacker and inside linebacker. Tight end runs directly through it. This is really similar stuff to what the Ravens ran for years with Lamar Jackson, Greg Roman. Looking at the free safety, coming back to the tight end. He knew where he was going with this football immediately as soon as he confirmed that it was cover 3. So everything looks like it's there, if you ask me, from the standpoint of Justin Fields recognizing how to determine coverage pre-snap, how to confirm it post-snap, and then that tells him or leads him to the conclusion or the answer, which is, where do I go with the football? And there's a lot of talent there. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall is an extremely explosive running back. I would expect some talented position player to be there at 7. What do you want? If you're a Jets fan and you watch this long, first of all, thank you. But second of all, what do you want them to do at 7? There's going to be a bunch of options, offensive line. I think they need edge defender way less than others do, but I know that's assuming health for Jermaine Johnson, who I wanted the Ravens to draft a couple of years ago. It's not all just cover 3 that Fields attacks efficiently. So here is a Tampa 2 against Washington. Again, the same year, 2023. This was a 3rd and 14 in the 4th quarter, and you're basically isolating that safety who's spot shadowed by the 2 vertical routes. The little checkup route is holding the corner here down into the flats in the Tampa 2, giving him something to occupy. And so they've isolated that safety. Easy throw for Fields, but he's got the arm. That's the point in showing this. Even though I think the lower body is kind of a lagging measure right here, or a lagging element. To me, when I watch him, I feel like the ball could be out 0.1, 0.15, maybe zero point 0.2 seconds earlier, but zero point 0.2 is probably getting a little bit picky. The point is, I think there's moments where Fields could be a little bit quicker in delivering the football. Why do I feel comfortable assuming there's going to be an increase in completion percentage? Better design concepts, a better job from Engstrand in creating known situations, essentially control the look that the defense gives you through the run game, through personnel, get him some easy completions to supplement some of the downfield passing ability that's being shown here. And that's what every quarterback wants. That's what every offensive coordinator wants. It's not to say that Justin Fields needs that more or less than others. You want to know who's one of the best coordinators or play callers, I should say, at doing that is Andy Reid. And he's got a great quarterback there in Patrick Mahomes. What influence does he have on increasing Mahomes' completion percentage through design elements, through pick, rub plays? I want to see, and I think you as a Jets fan want to see Engstrand do the same thing for Fields. It's not a shot at Fields, and it's not a limiting factor, in my opinion. It's just a reality of going against super complex and athletic defenses on a weekly basis. Same throw from the end zone angle. Again, I think he's just a little bit slower getting out of there than he could be. He's almost kind of gliding, and for my money, as athletic as he is, maybe they're trying to slow him down, but really does a nice job here. I think he's looking at that safety who I had spot shadowed from the All-22, who would be in that range, and then you can see his head turn to the left and go to DJ Moore. He basically confirmed that he got a Tampa 2 with the Mike Backer and that safety who was spot shadowed. I know it's Tampa. Let me come back over here. Easy touchdown. DJ Moore in the end zone. I'd like to see him, be able to attack defenses down the field because the run game, his athletic ability, his legs, his mobility is just going to add to Breece Hall or whatever else is offered in the run game. There's a lot of other types to throw. I'm very interested to see what Engstrand and Fields create together in the pass game, but also the run game that kind of leads the way and acts as the leadoff hitter. That's where we're going to go next. I do want to briefly talk about a draft document that I am in the process of creating this year, essentially a top 100. It says Lions draft board in the top left. It's basically a shared document whereby people can click on player names and go view film that is labeled and organized for them. There's also some short evaluations. It's quite boring from a visual aspect, or not visually attractive, I should say. The point is that it's work that I'm putting in to try to get the top 100 players in the draft, for me at least, documented on film and what they're capable of in terms of my evaluation based on usually 3 or 4 games watched and cut up, and the plays that you see there, not the actual play because I don't show college film on my channel, but the play titles, once you click on them, would actually display for you, is just kind of proof of the work that I've put in there. But let's get to the run element. He's going to change the coverage umbrella. Couple things I would expect to see. Number one, you will see stick split 0, because if the offense is successful at a certain time, there'll be third downs whereby the defensive coordinator says, hey, I want to force him to get rid of the ball. I want to remove the threat of the quarterback scrambling. And Fields, as you'll see in this video, if you didn't know already, is exceptional at that. Basically, 4-man rush schemes with man coverage will be minimized because, well, they'll be used at times by maybe defensive coordinators who haven't experienced guys like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or whatever, but those coverages, basically man-free, typical man-free with a 4-man rush, or sometimes 2-man, opens you up for the quarterback to escape. And I'll use a couple of examples of that here. This is 2-man, a 2023 game against the Lions. The man coverage, first of all, the breakdown here for the Lions is Aiden Hutchinson jumping into the B gap, which I think he took responsibility for after the game. From a coverage standpoint, there's what you got, man coverage. So 2-man, those guys are in man across the board, and then the 2 safeties are working together to try to cover things up. If the 4-man rush isn't able to get there and contain the quarterback, with backs turned, covering receivers, there's just too much space for athletes like Fields. Like I said, this is a fourth quarter touchdown run. I think it put the Bears up 25-13 in that moment. A real disappointing loss for the Lions. Man free, two-man. I'm not saying they're going to disappear from being used against the Jets, but the chance of an easy conversion because of a scramble by the quarterback is just too high at times. And so they'll want to be in, if they are in a four-man rush, they'll want to be a little bit more conservative, kind of like a cage mentality. Hold the quarterback in the pocket, not necessarily go for a sack. Hutchinson diving underneath here. You just can't do these type of things against an athlete the caliber of Justin Fields. Turns it into a touchdown, just too easy to create that space out there. And so when I said into the lead in about sticks blitz zero, what I mean is heavy pressure. Teams bringing heavy pressure and showing Fields, hey, you're going to have to throw the ball quick here. We are not going to let you scramble. As an aside, I'm sure that other content creators or commentators have talked about this. The NFL is the lagging measure for athletic quarterbacks. Really, there are plenty of quick and talented quarterbacks out there, but the guys like Fields, Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, they really changed the dynamic in that if you're going to play man free, you're basically going to add on that fifth rusher. Add on that fifth rusher and not play the game of, hey, there's four rushers for six gaps. And if you chip with someone, a tight end or a running back, then that really puts the four-man rush at a disadvantage dealing with a guy essentially who with great open field running skills and ability to break tackles. I think Fields offers that in the same way that a lot of those other super athletes do. That fifth rusher could be utilized as a pseudo spy. Also, the reality is designed runs to catch the defense off guard. Oftentimes, in my experience at the NFL level, it's been inside the red zone. And more often than not, it's to the boundary. It almost ends up being like a 12 on 11, whereby you end up with a total numbers advantage into the boundary for the offense. Now, the Falcons don't play this well, right? The reality is the boundary side safety, boundary side inside linebacker are both absolutely untouched. We're talking about here and here. These guys are completely untouched. I think Calais Campbell also ends up kind of stunting inside a little bit or reacting inside to the running back cross and face. Running back is supposed to go get the linebacker. He draws the DN. Linebacker does nothing. So there's certainly some breakdowns here to, quote, explain this away if you want. The point is, in certain parts of the field, red zone and closer, these plays become more of an option for Angstrand and the offensive staff because you've got a guy who basically he's a finisher. He's a finisher with his feet, with his legs, his ability to find space. I've shown you, and like I said, Atlanta played it terrible. Unblocked safety, unblocked linebacker. The corner did next to nothing as well, trying to get off the block. But the larger, I think, point to make here is the numbers advantage that you get. For teams who are going to play out of too high structure, 11 personnel creates natural space into the boundary for athletic quarterbacks in the NFL to take advantage of. Why? The hashes are tighter. The hashes are closer together. And so there's just more space over there out of 11 personnel. Basically, if you're not going to utilize that boundary side safety and the run fit, there's a tremendous amount of stress put on the boundary side inside linebacker, and it forces conflict for all of those defenders, if you ask me. It sounds simple in my presentation probably, but I feel like it is. I feel like it's borne out over the course of the last 3 or 4 years with quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels last year in his rookie year. That ridiculous athlete who can, well, on design plays, who can hit a home run or finish a drive off, but also who can turn a potential negative yardage play into something, turn a negative yardage play into a gain, even a 4 or 5 yard gain if it should have been a tackle for loss. That's the difference between, a punt for the offense and a potential scoring drive or worse. Just a couple of examples of that. Here's a 3rd and 7 against the same Packers. And they're going to drop out an inside linebacker and an outside linebacker. I think it's Preston Smith. Corner blitz from the bottom side of our screen. Nickel blitz from the top, completely unblocked. And Fields just spins out of there, makes the guy miss. Really embarrassing from the standpoint of you're totally unblocked, can't contain the quarterback. Fields is able to get out of there, make one guy miss, almost make Preston Smith miss, and gain 10 yards where there's a free rusher off the edge. Basically, you have to almost be perfect at times when you're facing athletes of this caliber. It can be mitigated by the stick split zero rush, which, I'm not really going to diagram the entire thing here, but instead of 5 in the picture, you would see potentially 6th or even 7. Essentially showing your hand to the offense, to the quarterback that is, and saying, hey, you're going to have to throw the football. We're not going to allow you to do stuff like this and just get out of here. Because we've seen enough film from the NFL, from college, to know that you can do this anytime there's time and space afforded to you. The Jets coaches, the Jets front office, in fact, their job is to create personnel advantages. And maybe that's where the number 7 pick comes in. I'm not one to say that you shouldn't take a receiver or something that is going to increase the talent on the offensive side tremendously. Offensive line certainly looks like, to me, a spot the Jets have got to improve in, tackle mostly. But who's to say that you don't find someone available at 7 or even, I think it's 43 or 42, that the Jets can't pass up? Point here is for guys like Fields, over the course of a game and a season, how many of those situations do they create whereby there's a free rusher, should be a tackle for loss, play disrupted, and instead they end up getting a first down or even worse? Another factor or thing that's an add-on element or layer, I should say, is in play action passing. The effect that Fields can have, adding that third portion to the play. There's a play action. We're going to throw the football. We could throw it to a check down. But if there's time, those guys can take off and find open space. It's a huge pain for the defense. And I'm going to use this play against the Chiefs from 2023 to kind of illustrate it. Watch the defense react to the possibility of the run. I'm talking about the second-level defenders. And then they get in their pass drops. And then once Fields has time and there's nothing available to him in the pass game, and I think I'll show you the all-22 in a minute if I have it, then he takes off. It ends up being a 5th rusher, one of the linebackers. I think it's Gay, number 50. The point is there's the run element or the run fake, and then the pass drop by the second-level defenders. Those guys have to adjust and account for his ability to extend the play, create something when there was solid coverage by the defense to deny it. Maybe I'm sounding overly optimistic to some people, but whenever first of all, they've got a solid backup, Tyrod Taylor, who's proven he's a guy who will compete. Is $20 million too much for Justin Fields? I'm fine if someone wants to say that. I like the elements that he adds to the offense. If Engstrand can come in and recreate anything similar to what the Lions offered, that would mean drastic improvements to the offensive line, in my opinion. No disrespect to the Jets' offensive line in previous seasons. I actually really like Morgan Moses, clearly, from being a Ravens fan. And I see he's moved on from the Jets and got another big contract at, I think, age 38 or something like that. Point is, if you want to recreate the Lions' offense, you might need a second running back, and you also might need, and Braylon Allen certainly looks like he would fit the bill, but you also need drastic improvements on the offensive line. So pick number 7 could certainly be something like that. Another example of man free not being just not a good match for an athlete the caliber of Fields. Conceptually, there's 6 gaps and only 4 rushers. So there's your man coverage. This is against the Broncos in the 4th quarter of a game that's tied at 28. And I think you're going to see more 5-man rush elements. So these are the 2 extra. One of them is going to be the low hole dropper. People have different names for it, whatever. And one of them is going to be the middle of the field defender deep. So you can see one safety dropping down to the middle and the other safety getting depth. You don't see the second guy who's at depth. My apologies. He's off the screen to your left. But the point is, it's man coverage. With a low hole dropper, and then a free safety who's deep. He's right over the Bears emblem in the middle of the field. And once there's so much time, the 4-man rush can't get there. This is just too easy. So there will be certain coverages, man free is basically what I'm displaying to you, that are going to be removed from the coverage umbrella. Engstrand and Fields won't have to worry about them. Essentially, you're talking about a tactical concession by the defense, such that they recognize, hey, on a third down, this guy can just get out of there and convert too easily. We're not willing to give that up. I think that it's going to be interesting where they go at pick 7 and then pick 40, 43, I believe. One more play that's play action oriented that I think just gives you an illustration or an idea of what he can do on play action concepts. Forces you to defend more of the width of the field because of his mobility and then his his recognition of the open space. Engstrand will design the offense, I think, with some creative stuff. Maybe not as creative as Ben Johnson. Ironically, the last play I'm going to show here is against the Lions, 2023 in Detroit. Play action concept, running back coming down to the bottom side of our screen. Fields booting off of it to the top side. And you can see the routes, the tight ends, a little delay chip on the defensive end, and then Moore running the little high side drag. Look at all the attention on the run element here to the bottom side. And all that really does functionally is it creates space for Fields to cut underneath of, and Detroit was very fortunate that this didn't end up being a touchdown on this particular play. Fields has that type of athletic ability that he'll add layers to concepts that add secondary options, if you will, to concepts whereby Engstrand didn't really design the play for him to run. I think it's a big signing. I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out for the New York Jets. I'm willing to do another one of these if people are interested in them that basically focuses on the Lions passing concepts and then try to find some similar examples from Justin Fields' career. I think that the Jets have invested in a unique player. Does his pass technique, his individual ability to throw the football need to improve? I think he can make the throws physically. Do his understanding of the reads need to improve? I don't know that. I can't offer comment on that. The things that I have seen that he is asked to read, he did so with the Bears, with a high degree of efficiency at times. Other times you watch it and you're like, okay, what's happening here? I'm not sure I understand why we're reading it that way. But again, some of that could be my own limited understanding. How much is Engstrand gonna rely on designed plays and concepts to make things easier for Justin Fields? I mean, that's what the Lions did with Jared Goff. That's what Andy Reid does with Patrick Mahomes, as much as possible. There comes a time where guys have got to make plays. I enjoy going over play concepts and design elements from other teams because it challenges me to get better and hopefully improve my process and improve my ability to break down the game. If you did enjoy this one, please let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know what's your favorite team if you are a Jets fan. I do root for Justin Fields. Like I said earlier twice already, I think the NFL is the lagging measure for QB quarterback athleticism. If you go down levels of football, college, high school, youth football, athletic quarterbacks allow you to play 11 on 11 or 12 on 11 at pretty much every stage of the game. And in fact, the NFL hashes being tighter together. I have a theory. The NFL hashes are tighter together, obviously, creating more space to the boundary, what is known as the short side of the field. 11 personnel with the nickel set to the field away from the boundary really opens up more opportunities for the run game to flourish there. It's my opinion that more teams in the NFL are running to the boundary because of the more space that's afforded there by the tight hashes and athletic quarterbacks who can scramble, who can be a part of design concepts or option concepts, which I'll show you in a separate video if you want, only make it the game even more difficult for the defense. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Jets fans would enjoy this film study look at their new $20 million quarterback, Justin Fields, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.